In northern Kenya, there lives an ancient tribe of people known as the Samburu. They are a highly religious people who believe that the spirit world is as real as the land and the sky, a kind of parallel universe where real power resides. The Samburu landscape is dotted with holy sites and shrines, where spiritual energy flows into mortals who visit these holy places and fills them with resolve and renewed purpose. Rhodia Mann is a white Kenyan who has been adopted by the Samburu as one of their own, one of only a handful of Westerners who understand and appreciate the Samburu way. Of all the Samburu holy places, one stands above all others. It is a great stone monolith known as Naisu Ishu, which translates directly as Wind of God, but more meaningfully as the place where God speaks to man. Rhodia has visited this site twice before in her life. We will follow her on her third and final quest to visit the place where she and the Samburu believe that God speaks directly to man. In the context of the Western world, Rhodia might be written off as a hyper-religious mystic. She believes that she was Samburu in a previous life. But in Samburu land, she is but one of thousands who believe in and live by spiritual enlightenment, which they believe enters the soul during meditation. Rhodia does nothing without first asking for spiritual advice and approval.
When I was 16, I woke up one night from an extraordinary vision. I saw myself standing in this same place with the entire Rift Valley spread out below me, and behind me were a huge crowd of Samburu people, and I realized that I had come to the moment of my death. I remember saying to myself in my dream, "Oh, I'm dead. Oh, death is easy." And it became more and more clear to me that that vision was meant to guide me through my life, and that the Samburu people were an enormous part of my life. So my quest involves a pilgrimage, which begins here. It's a hard journey, and by the time I finished it, I have all the knowledge and all the information I need in order to go the next step in my life.
The Samburu district is in Kenya. It includes several hundred square miles of roadless terrain, nearly all of it an impediment to motorized travel. Even the SUV, whose ancestor, the Land Rover, was born and bred to traverse the African landscape, has difficulty in Samburu land. I don't think we needed a sign that said slow down.
No.
One of Rhodia's great fears is that the Samburu culture will one day succumb to Western ways. So that they will not be forgotten, she has invited us along to document and preserve, at least on film, the Samburu way.
I've been coming up here for more than 30 years. They all know my car. They know me by sight. I'm going to the second and the third generation in certain families. I'm very well liked. And they're always happy to help me if they can. By now, I'm received with great friendship. I came up here as a small child and sort of fell in love with the Samburu people who befriended me. And then gradually over the years, the friendship deepened. And the more I learnt about these people, the more I love them, and the more I found that I could respect in their culture. He says the river's up to here.
Natoka Mara.
Ndio. Okay.
Najua siku moja yeye anakuja.
Najua na
Alafu narudi. Ndio.
He says that if it hasn't rained today or tonight, then by tomorrow it could have dropped a lot and we may get through.
The Samburu and Maasai are often mistaken for one another, mostly because both wear red. But red isn't a mere fashion statement here. For centuries, lions and other predators have felt the spear points of warriors dressed in red, a color they now dread. Red protects. But aside from dress, there is little resemblance between Maasai and Samburu. They do not understand each other even though their languages share a common origin. The biggest difference, the Maasai are considered warlike, the Samburu peaceful and friendly.
Oh, look at this. Isn't that fantastic? Breakfast. Ah.
We said welcome for breakfast today.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Lenjo.
Rhodia enlisted the aid of her good friend Lasha Lang, possibly the most experienced safari guide in the entire Samburu district.
He's going to lead us the whole way. He's the guide.
Lesha Lang is my old friend here. I've known him for 15 years, 16 years or more. And he's an expert game tracker and an expert herbalist. And of course he knows this whole area like the back of his hand, and I've been with him 20, 30, 40 times already. So I trust him with my life and with yours.
With ours.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of cattle raiding here.
Rhodia invited Clive Ward to join the expedition as the security officer. It would be his job to anticipate any danger from man or beast.
So it's good to have firepower to match other firepower, can I say it like that. We don't know whom we're going to come across in the bush. Plus the fact, I mean, we're traveling through buffalo country.
So we might run into buffalo.
So I was talking to some of the men earlier on, just before we came in here, and they said they've seen a lot of buffalo down in the bush. So I think we have to be very careful.
Naongeza moja. Okay, what he says is, yes, normally it takes us 3 days to get to the base of the mountain, but because of El Nino, he doesn't think we can cross the river where I normally cross it. But I must say, everything I've heard about what it's going to be like doesn't make me terribly happy this time.
Right.
It's quite exciting, you know?
The Wind of God monolith is only about 20 miles away as the crow flies. But add jungle paths, mountain trails, and river crossings, it will take a caravan of 16 people and half as many camels a minimum of 2.5 days through territory controlled in places by shifta, a Samburu word for bandits.
Trying to get everyone ready. We're running late. The base camp, this belongs to a man called Simon Evans. He, over the years, has acquired a large herd of camels and he's trained them specifically to carry baggage. And I walk with camels and with Samburu to guide me to these sacred places. Morning grumble. This is typical behavior. They don't like being loaded up. No, she's fine. This is my personal camel. I named her. Her name's Lakera, which means star. And that's the whole purpose of this quest. The blue one goes, right?
Okay.
We have to all stay together, okay? And when we start, they come, everyone follows. Everyone ready? We're off. Oi, it's okay. Haya, Lesheleng, twendeni. Hawa nafuata. You know, we'll have 16 camels, 14 Samburu, and us. So we are, I would imagine, the biggest group that's ever come through here.
The entire expedition exists for one single purpose, to escort Rhodia Man to the Wind of God monolith. And that takes some explaining. Several years ago, Rhodia opened a school. She called it a mystery school, where she taught the Samburu way, their religion in particular. After about a year, she closed the school, unable to both teach and carry on her day job as an artist. The wisdom of closing the school has been on her mind ever since, and the primary goal of all this fuss and bother is to bring Rhodia to the sacred monolith one more time, where she will ask the spirits that reside there the question we all ask from time to time. Oh Lord, what next?
So watch out for those thorns in your...
A visitor walking through here would likely see grass, trees, and a few bushes, some with vicious thorns. A Samburu sees himself surrounded by cures for many diseases. This land is a virtual pharmacopoeia of wonder drugs about which the West has little knowledge.
My friend Lesheleng is one of the last really great herbalists left. And his knowledge is truly encyclopedic.
Hii sasa napanda malaria kabisa.
Hii kwa malaria?
Hii kwa malaria. Natoa tu namna hii. Natoa tu hii.
Na alafu?
Alafu natoa hii shindano kidogo.
Yeah.
Napika naweka maji, nashamushwa. Bas, nawasha na
kunywa.
Ndio, nawasha na pua. Alafu anakunywa. Ni shunga tu anajua.
Yeah, najua hii maziwa.
Kali.
Hii ni sumu.
Hapana.
No?
Yani kushika tu
kama kwa macho.
Kwa macho.
Oh, we've got another herbal remedy here. Gani,
hii.
Na sindano?
Hii nalala.
Oh, hii ni nini?
Hii dawa ya tumbo.
Ya tumbo.
Kama nasikia tumbo na kuwa mbaya.
Nauma, ni tamu?
Hapana tamu sana.
It's not very sweet. It's quite awful.
Naona hii.
Oh, hii na sindano?
Hii dawa napanda malaria sana. Malaria. Yanapanda malaria sana. Si yake.
They're wonderful. They have absolutely everything growing in the bush here. It's incredible. Stomach aches, diarrhea, women's problems, malaria, pneumonia, you name it. They've got some sort of cure for it. It's great. Hiya. Twendeni. But he's one of the last to really know all of this. And that's what makes him of great importance to me, apart from the level of personal friendship there. I would seriously doubt that pharmaceutical companies are interested. You know, they tend to think that this is for a different kind of human being, bush medicine. It's not going to work on us. How wrong they are.
There are among the Samburu many holy men, what we would call psychics or prophets.
That tree, sir. What? Just up there, that tree. The holy tree?
They are held in high regard for their presumed ability to divine the future. They set up business well off the beaten track. The idea being, if you have the ability to find them, then you are perhaps worthy of their attention. Otherwise, perhaps not.
This is the homestead of an old man called Karinda Lekominga. Karinda is the best known diviner in the whole of Samburu district. He also has his firstborn son, who's a fully qualified diviner. And as part of my quest, I come to him to ask how the journey will go. Is there anything of significance that he sees in there that I need to be told about? He gives me some into my hand, I have to hold them to my forehead, my throat, and my stomach. What's of particular significance in this reading is that he gave me into my hand 2 small stones and a blade of grass. What he's saying is this shows that my body's in good health, that I'm strong enough to do the journey, that there won't be any major problems, that I am ready for it. Sometimes he'll turn the calabash upside down and nothing comes out. That signifies the end of a reading, and you can't ask questions beyond that. So it's basically, I'm in God's hands this time, and all will go well.
About 2 hours before sundown, Rodia's expedition arrives at the bank of the Owasso-Nira River, where they will set up camp for the night.
Sasa takuwa namna hapa? Sisi taweka mahema hapa?
The Samburu understand Western lifestyle. They could at any time walk away from their traditional tribal life, enter a city, and take a job like the rest of us. Many are university educated, but most look at the way we live and after due consideration decide that their ways yield greater happiness. For one thing, they are healthier. Lesha Lang, who you would probably guess to be about 40 or 45 years old, is actually 72.
Their basic diet consists entirely of meat, milk, and blood, all from the cattle. The warriors live on milk and blood, either separately or mixed together. I've had it. I've had blood and milk mixed together at ceremonies. It looks like a strawberry milkshake. Unfortunately, it doesn't taste like that. It's not very nice. I've talked to nutritionists who deem their diet to be actually a very healthy, perfect diet. And if you look at them, they're all lean and sinewy and there's not an ounce of fat on them, and they can walk for 40 miles in a day. They're very healthy people.
No, pana. Okay, sorry, okay. Iko pombe hapa?
Which cooler has the beer in it?
That's a very good point. I wonder if they brought the beer with them.
What I admire about the Samburu culture is that they have a very strong social structure. Every age group knows its role, knows what's expected of it, has its responsibilities. There's no feeling of loneliness. There's no psychological pain. And as you go through life, the elders look after you until you yourself become an elder. Everyone is a gift from God. And my dream is that they should be left to follow their tribal culture and their tradition, because it's kept them going for a few thousand years.
The Samburu associate events in everyday life with the stars, attaching meaning and importance to nearly every planet and constellation.
As they get older, they have to study the stars and develop their own personal insights and visions even. And they are able to look at the stars and see them three-dimensionally. They can show me a constellation and say, well, you know, that star's much nearer to us and that's the furthest away, and this one has another star orbiting it. They can see all of that.
Rhodia carries with her a deck of 44 personalized tarot cards based on a theme of African animals. Every morning she lays down one card from the deck to discover which animal will be her spiritual ally for the day, much the way the Samburu mystics divine the future using pebbles.
Before I came on this quest, one day I woke up in the morning and I suddenly felt that I wanted to go right through with one ally per day, right through the 44. There's Heron, the Ascension Master of the Oracle. Owl is the symbol of the teacher, telling me to be a teacher. Pigeon, that's the card of peace. Buffalo. Buffalo is all about anger. That means if anyone disturbs me when I'm doing my meditation, I'm going to get very angry. I have the right.
Whether coincidence or divination, the buffalo card's call for anger was appropriate, as the Iwasu-Niru River, which had to be crossed, was now swollen from recent rains. Lashalang and the other Samburu could cross without difficulty, but Rhodia?
I would never attempt to cross in this raging torrent. I'd be an idiot.
There is a bridge several miles to the south, but to subject the expedition to an extra day and a half of travel seemed to everyone else equally idiotic. So?
See, that's okay. Masimu.
Yeah, mashumu maji inakuwa mingi sana.
Problem, yes. Problem.
Yes, globally.
Big problem. Well, we're in a bit of a pickle here because it's obvious that we can't get across the river here. So what I'm going to do is take a fairly long detour. We're going to have to head back the way we came.
How far is that?
Well, we've lost a day and a half.
Yeah,
It's a hell of a long way.
day and a half.
It's a bitch, what can I tell you? It's defeating me. There is a proper bridge across the river, and we'll have to go up the other side, so it'll take us a couple of days longer than I had planned. And that's how it has to be. Moja.
The main reason they didn't take the bridge route in the first place is that it puts them in shifta territory. The shifta are hostile to the Samburu and pretty much everyone else. The best defense is a show of power, meaning guns, not spears. To cross the Iwasu-Niru River, Rhodia's expedition had to backtrack several miles to a bridge that led directly into shifta territory. For the past year or two, the shifta have been stealing cattle from local tribes. Like drug lords, they consider any outsider, however innocent, to be a threat to their criminal enterprise. Many of the old trails were now completely overgrown, perhaps intentionally as a way to discourage travelers. Lashalang warned that there could be dangerous animals lurking in the bush, Cape buffalo, but much more importantly, male elephants, which for reasons unknown had become unusually aggressive in recent years.
We're in the middle of a forest here, which is not exactly typical. We're up in a very hilly district. It's called the Karisia Hills, and so we have a different vegetation here. As you go further north, you hit very, very dry, arid land with lava plains.
Cape buffalo are unpredictable. One minute they'll charge you, another you can walk right up and pet them, although that might well be the last thing you ever do. It's best to avoid eye contact and walk quietly but swiftly by.
Sijui saa ngapi? Oh my God, haka nafika. Angalia, iko tamu.
Pole sana. Naona? Eh.
Haya, sasa napita.
Trying to break down this bank because this is too steep for the camels to come up. And they slip and slide all over the place.
By the afternoon of the third day, the expedition was deep into Shifta territory. The Shifta are armed poachers, mostly from Somalia to the northeast. They have a grisly reputation for brutality. Lesha Lang spotted what he thought might be a cattle rustling operation and advised us to lay low so as not to be spotted by Shifta tribesmen.
Somebody's been stealing someone's camels. And the problem is that they've got arms. They've got more arms than we have. I saw a few guns there.
Poachers will stay concealed whenever possible because the anti-poaching police will sometimes simply shoot to kill without warning, saving the expense of a trial. Unfortunately, it works both ways, putting the innocent traveler at risk. When Lesha Lang gave the okay, the expedition moved quietly on without incident, making every effort to stay concealed. Just ahead lay the safety of a Samburu village and a family that had adopted Rhodia as one of their own, a place like so many others in the district where she could be welcomed with open arms.
We're coming now to the homestead of a family called Lelenguya, and I have known this family for 30 years. What makes them special is that they are one of the last remaining traditional blacksmiths of the tribe, and I'm now on my third generation with this family. Over here is the forge in which Kayai, the current blacksmith, makes all the spears and arrows, axes and knives for the use by the Samburu people.
The Samburu brought their knowledge of iron smelting with them when they migrated south from the Nile Valley centuries ago. Watching the village blacksmith is like catching a glimpse of Iron Age technology in its early stages of evolution. The mother and grandmother of the blacksmith family is a woman known to the Samburu as a blessed and gifted woman, once the subject of a very special miracle.
Her name is Ntaipi, and in her own right she's a very famous lady because she's a holy woman. When her son married, his wife had a baby daughter, and as soon as the baby was born, the mother abandoned the child. And Ntaipi, who was by then a mature woman, looked at this little newborn grandchild and said, "What am I going to do?" And she picked up the newborn baby and held it to her breast, and the milk came spontaneously. And she became a holy woman for that. She defies all medical knowledge and science. You've noticed the Samburu wear these big flat collars of beads. To me, that is a direct connection to ancient Egypt and the collars that were worn at that time. A woman's wealth is round her neck. The way they show their wealth is for the woman to wear as many beads as she can. Particularly, I'm intrigued by the silver metal pendant which the girls wear here. That represents the planet Venus, from which they came originally.
Those little metal pieces are symbols of stars.
Of Venus in particular. Okay.
Of their
their creation story.
Yes, and all the young girls are supposed to wear one. She's very shy, this little one here. Yeah. They're not supposed to talk to strangers. They're not supposed to talk to anyone until they become married women. So that's why we're not getting tremendous response from them. She wants me to sit down. And Taipi loves me to pieces and wants to make me her official daughter. So we're going to have a blessing ceremony where she will officially adopt me. Milk is always used by the Samburu in rituals and blessings. Nothing happens without it. So every ceremony, every ritual involves milk in some way or another. Ashe, Mama.
With Rhodia now officially a family member, there was cause for celebration.
This is my Samburu Mama, don't you, my sweetheart? Yeah, and Taipi.
According to their creation myth, the Samburu came to Earth from the planet Venus by way of a rather long ladder. Upon arrival, the gods took away the ladder. Then, so that they might survive their time on Earth, the gods gave them all the cattle in the world.
Cattle are of supreme importance. They regard cattle as their gift from God. Therefore, the cattle must be treasured, looked after. Their entire wealth is in their cattle. It's unlucky to count them. The minute you know how many you have, disaster is likely to fall upon one. You're not supposed to know how many you have. Every event in Samburu life is designed to strengthen a mystical bond between a person and his animals, and they develop a very mystical relationship with their cattle. Well, we're at a very special place now. It's called Suguta in the Samburu tongue, and that means a spring. It's a holy place because there is eternal water available here. It's divided into the place where the men go for their initiation ceremonies. That's just down here in the foreground. What's there is in fact the source of the spring. And when you look down into it, it's rather like a female vulva. And the young initiates, before they're circumcised, they have to reach down and they have to pull up 4 small stones. And then they head back to the special ceremonial village, and that's where they're circumcised. Now behind me, further in the background over there, you can see a rock standing up. That is the woman's place. In times of drought, the women go out there and they pray for the survival of the tribe. And when I asked for how long had the women been coming to pray at this rock, I was told for more than a month already. And then I asked, and for how much longer will they come here to pray? And the answer was, until God tells us to stop. Very, very beautiful.
It seems every civilization passes through similar stages of development, understood by the artifacts left behind. There are pyramids scattered all around the world, and before pyramids, stone circles all across Eurasia, Stonehenge being the most famous of these. But why circles? Always circles? The answer may lie in Africa. Here in the Samburu district, there are many ancient ruins of stone circles. But unlike those in Europe, these were built within the memory of the Samburu elders. And the elders will explain that the circles were originally built as nothing more than the foundation of cattle enclosures, corrals in other words.
So here's one of these stone circles that I was telling you about.
Over time, they became meeting places, and later, as their original function faded from memory, they became holy sites.
In more recent years, elders have withdrawn to the top of this mountain in order to hold special prayers, in order to help them make major decisions for the tribe. So it's known as a meeting place of the elders. That's a sacred land. And when we think, we put in our collective consciousness into the place. Now I can see a sort of pale pink cloud of thoughts that have formed over this place by all the people that have come here. So if I tune into the energy of those thoughts, perhaps it'll help me formulate my own thoughts as well. It's collective wisdom, collective consciousness.
Is there any connection between wisdom and the stars that you can see up here very clearly at night?
Oh, they have this wonderful concept that the Milky Way represents all God's children upon earth. What you're supposed to do if you're a good Samburu, as you become older, you're supposed to spend more time meditating on the stars to get your own personal insights and messages. And the Milky Way is deemed to be your path in life, your whole life's experiences, your wisdom. So you're supposed to contemplate the Milky Way and draw in your wisdom and increase your wisdom very, very specifically. It's lovely. So I do that often. We are at a place called Nyangabone, which is a large tree. And near to the large tree is my sacred cave of the ancestors, which is called Nyangaboli. This has been a sacred place to the Samburu for hundreds, if not 1,000 years. It's a nice shady spot, trees around, the river's just at our feet. We'll do fine here. I've never done this before. I think I'm getting too old for my quest. Pretty too. Oh. God bless my team. What would I do without them? Oh, my feet hurt.
Tomorrow, sometime in the afternoon, Rhodia and her Samburu escorts hope to reach the Wind of God monolith, where, according to tradition, she will receive instructions on exactly how to spend the rest of her life, her reason for being, from this point on. According to the Samburu belief system, a system which Rhodia embraces wholeheartedly, the planet Earth is laced with conduits of spiritual energy, rather like underground electrical power lines that connect sacred places. Called ley lines, they are invisible to all but a few. As the expedition neared Naishu Ishu, the Wind of God monolith, they came across one such line. It did not show up on film, unfortunately, but as Rhodia insists, it's there nonetheless.
We're coming to a ley line here. It begins right here It runs straight from Naisiyusyu all the way to Mount Kenya. When I first came up here, I'm very sensitive to ley lines, so I stopped and I said, oh, there's a ley line here. And Lesheleng said, yes, it goes from there to Mount Kenya. So I said, you mean you can see it too? And he said, doesn't everybody? Well, it's very, very overgrown. You probably have to hack a path first. That, for me, is the end of my quest. There, not where I'm sitting now. Anything can happen between now and then. I could die, I could burst into tears, I could have some great moment of enlightenment. Every time I come, it's different. And up there, there's this very narrow, rocky ledge, which is like the aisle in the cathedral. And I have to go along it. And that I find very, very scary, because I suffer from vertigo. Safely here. And thank you for bringing me good companions this time. Thank you.
In every Western cathedral, there is an altar, a point of focus where God and man are said to communicate. It is the same here. Naishu Isyu, the wind of God monolith, is the altar. The cathedral is the sky.
All right, I'm a bit calmer now. It just swept over me, and I'm sorry, but I just had to cry. As soon as we came up here, I knew what my task was. I was just overwhelmed with the absolute knowledge that I have to open my mystery school again, and that's why I had to come here. And I asked a lot of spirits to come and help me.
Whether Rhodia and the Samburu receive advice from spirits or from the depths of the unconscious mind is a question often asked of any religion, usually by those of another religion. The word faith means many things, but above all it means don't ask.